As a conscious African, I must push back against this constant display of ignorance by some African people against African Americans. African Americans must know that this is not the sentiment of a majority of African people. The constant disregard and disrespect of African American accomplishments, of their struggle, of their grace, of their excellence, of their fortitude must stop. It is embarrassing, it is heartbreaking. African Americans must know that this is not the truth. If you ever get a chance of visiting the continent, if you've ever visited the continent, you will know that you are loved, you are supported, and you are embraced as a member of this African family, because you are a member of the African family. And this display of ignorance by Africans, especially those Africans who have decided to settle on this soil, on American soil, must understand that it is because of the struggle, it is because of the sacrifices of African Americans that we are able to be here, that we are able to enjoy these things. And so you are exposing your own ignorance, speaking this way. Stop it.
Black immigrants are more successful than Black Americans because they outwork us. I said it. Now, I have seen this over and over and over again. If I'm dealing with a Black person in any sort of business capacity, you're dealing with people who do not show up on time. You're dealing with people who do not treat their business like a business. They treat it as like, some side project and, you just broke, man. And, I don't have to give you good service. I don't have to be on time. I don't have to show up like a true professional. Now, Black immigrant business owners are very different. They are very hardworking. They show up on time. They come to America with the mentality that they're going to come here and work and build something, whereas Black Americans, and yes, I am 100% foundational Black American from slaves, okay? That is how Black American I am, and I will tell you that Black Americans have a very entitled mindset. We're always waiting on somebody to do something for us. We are always waiting on government handouts. We are always waiting on somebody to do something for us. And when we get positions and when we actually have businesses, have companies or whatever, 9 times out of 10, they're run terribly. I have had some of the most terrible experiences that you can ever have when deciding to deal with Black American business owners. Now, don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate me for saying what is really real. Black immigrants are outpacing Black Americans because they outwork us.
So are Africans, African Americans, and Black people the same? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So in my last video, I got a lot of people asking, aren't Africans Black people? Yes, Black is global. You can go to any continent, any country, Black people live there. And please understand, I'm not trying to cause divide and division. I'm really trying to just create a discourse and conversation about what the difference is. So as I said before, I am first generation Nigerian and I have been here for a very, very long time. So I understand the dynamics between African American, and Black all at the same time. So when you're from outside of America, and since we're talking about Africa, let me make it even more specific for you guys. I don't claim Africa as a nationality or as my ethnic group. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. I claim Nigerian. And I think that's like the difference between Africans and African Americans in this country. Africans, when you know where you come from, like that's what you're claiming. Like, I don't know what's going on in Mali, Sudan, South Africa, Morocco. Like, I know what's going on in Nigeria, so I claim Nigeria. So like African Americans have to claim all of Africa, and we get it. It's not you guys' fault. It was the colonizer. He came and snatched you guys and brought you over here to America. So you guys don't know exactly where you come from. So the reason why I don't claim all of Africa is because I'm from Nigeria. Even more specifically, I'm from Maiduguri. Maiduguri is in Borno State, which is all the way up north in northern Nigeria. And more specific than that, like I'm Hausa. So yes, Hausa is a tribe, but even like more specific, I come from Margi people. So even though like I'm Hausa, I even know like my specific tribe. And so I get it. The average African American doesn't know where they come from. Like, I get it. You guys do the 23andMe. It tells you like bits and pieces from where you're from. But like, I know every inkling about my heritage. And so because of that, other Africans do the same. Like, they are proud from the country they come from. They're proud to be African, but they're not going to claim African. They're going to claim whatever country they come from, Niger, Ghana, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, wherever they are from. And the thing about Blackness is, since I've been in this country, there are African Americans who don't want to be called African Americans. They want to be called Black. And I've come to learn and respect that. However you want to choose to identify, we all have the right to do that. Before I am Black, I am Nigerian. And that's what I claim first. But I do claim Black. Like, y'all see this brown chocolate skin? Like, of course I'm Black. And I would never deny my Blackness. And Africans aren't denying their Blackness. But the thing is that first generation especially, they know where they come from. So I feel like that's what the confusion and the mix-up is. We just know exactly where we came from, whereas you guys, it's broad. So I hope that makes some sense. Okay, bye.
So we already know that Africans and African Americans don't get along. The hate is very evident when you hop online. But that's the thing. When you hop online, I don't see this shit in person at all. Okay, I'm lying a little bit. There will always be somebody that's mean, but that's not what I'm talking about. My point is that the hate is strong online, but there's lots of love in person. As an African, I love African Americans. I have so many African American friends. We get along just fine. And I bet you if I asked any of them what they think of Africans, they won't have anything bad to say. We can talk about the bullying that Africans endured by African Americans in school, but that's not what I want to talk about. Just because I'm not in school anymore and I don't get bullied for being African anymore. I have learned to let that go because I decided to love myself. And I've been able to see that a lot of the African Americans that bullied me are now grown or the same age as me, and they don't think like that anymore. If you're Black and you go to any part of Africa, I bet you will be loved and welcomed. So just remember that just because there's hate and division online, it doesn't mean that it's the same thing in person.
Hello, welcome tribe, welcome to this particular show here. In case it's your first time, I go by Sherlock. Yes, give me that particular like up there and a subscription, it will do me good. Now, in today's show, or in today's tea, we have this particular very controversial topic that has been going around in social media platforms, that there is this particular big rift, and it's rifting that we've got African Americans, the AAs, versus the fresh from the boat, the African immigrants, those ones who have found themselves there through some merits into the land. That there are these particular differences, that they see themselves, the other ones they see themselves as superior, these ones they see themselves as people who are so lazy. I don't know if that is very true. I also do stand corrected, but hold on, hang around, because you're going to watch from different quarters, sentiments made by different people. And then, of course, at the end of it, guys, as usual, I'll circle back with more sentiments and more deep critical insights over the same. Let's keep on watching first.
Africa are you from?
I'm from America. That's what we're saying. Just
What
like a
country in
Jamaica,
Africa
just like
are
a
you
no,
from?
hold on. Just like somebody from Jamaica, they're not going to say what country in Africa they from. Somebody in Haiti is not going to say what country from. They're going to say they're Haitian.
Because they were closer from, what is it called, the triangular slave
But
trade.
then when you ask them that question, they're not going to have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl. Just as
But
far
Black Americans are in their own
But
bowl
the-
as well.
the
Like that's
reason why I
what
asked
I'm
that,
saying.
that's
Why
why
are we being questioned?
That's why Africans feel that way, because they feel like because you don't know where you come from, which is not by fault by Africans.
We
it's
know
not by,
where we come from. We come from America, just like
I guess it's
Jamaicans
just more-
come from Jamaica. Like, what is the difference?
I think it's just
Like,
more relatable from an African to see another African and be like, oh, where you come from? Oh, I'm from Ghana. I'm from this place. And they know so much about their culture because they do this, and this. So I feel like that's why they feel like you know so much about your culture in Africa. So that's why they're like, well, Americans don't know, because honestly, you guys don't know. When Africans come to America, they're busting their behinds to get degrees, become doctors, lawyers, and stuff like that. So when Africans look at African Americans, they're like, these people have credit cards. We don't even have credit cards. These people are not even working, and we come here and we busting our asses. And now we're doing this. We're now six figures, and these people have all these years to become all these great jobs and careers, and they're not doing anything. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Yeah, this is the conversation. It's like y'all have all this time to get free money, free loans, and we don't get that back at home.
yeah, but
But y'all get that when y'all come here, though.
Exactly, and guess what? We're right here, and y'all are still here.
There's a lot of grants in loans and different
The
situations.
people from here is not getting them loans that y'all come here and get though.
You said what you just said?
No, I said there's a lot of.
That's the point that they're proving. The people here are not even getting it. So it's like,
No,
what are
he's
y'all
saying
doing?
No, I'm saying the black people here are not getting them same opportunities that y'all come from y'all Africa and come here and get. We don't get those.
We're considering not
But
just Africans, everybody, all the other countries are considering y'all as being lazy because it's like, why aren't y'all getting these? Like, why y'all not busting y'all asses to? Y'all should be better than the Chinese. This is if y'all Americans. Y'all should be better than America. Y'all should be better than Chinese people who coming over here.
But we. And the thing is,
my question is, what are the opportunities that you think that we have over?
That's different, right?
The grants, the loans, the scholarships, and
that
stuff.
we're getting more than you guys.
I don't understand what. No, I've never heard of anything.
Are y'all seeing what's going on with the immigrants right now and how the benefits that they're?
I feel like a lot of Africans don't understand the African American experience. I never knew until I came here and started learning the history of what happened here. Like all the way from the end of slavery, Jim Crow laws, redlining, the civil rights movement, the pipeline from the school to prison pipeline.
The prison industrial complex.
Yeah, like all of this stuff. I don't think Africans have an idea of all these things that are put against African Americans to become successful. Like even the Africans that are brought here, we're brought and we're put into like nicer neighborhoods. They don't put us in Southside Chicago in like the worst neighborhoods where you literally have to get a gun to survive.
My family members in the US, when they go to the bank to take a loan, they will be given a loan. But when their African American friends go there, to take the same loan, they will deny them, from having a loan. When it also comes to jobs, for example, just to apply some jobs, my African family, with African passport, they will give them some jobs, and then the African Americans, they know they will not be able to have the same jobs. So God bless this brother here for explaining these things, to the Africans who thinks that they are in the United States and they are better than African Americans, because of their hard works, they are there. As he said, from the time of slavery all the way to the Jim Crow era in the United States, not only that, but even today, the way the system is built, you as an African with an African passport, the system will favor you than the African Americans. Because of why? The system knows that, first, you are not American, and then not only that, but they can also put a pressure on you, just like at your workplace, to do certain things, even you don't want to. Why? Because you do not want to lose your green card, or you do not want to lose your job, which might just put you at the risk of deporting you back to your home country. I have seen a lot of Africans, on the internet, talking about African Americans being lazy, being this, being that, if you think because of your hard work you are in the US, why don't you sit your ass in Africa, to work hard to get what you are having right now in the US? But no, because you can't make it in Africa because of the way our system back home here also is not enough jobs for people, not only jobs, but you, for example, who is from a minority family, let's start with, you will not have the chance, to be able to do something here because it's not about what you know, it's about whom you know. The same system is in the United States put in place for the African Americans, So I want to see all of you black Americans, I want to see all of you black Africans, to work together, to know that we are all families, I am Africans. And then it hurts me a lot that by seeing Africans on the internet in the United States, trying to bully the African Americans, taking them as lazies, or taking them as they don't work. But this is what happens, if you do not learn your history, and not only that, you also think that white man is God, Trust me, so many of African people are brainwashed to believe in this, Sadly, we even have leaders right now in power who are working for the same people who are oppressing the African Americans in the United States. The same people, our own leaders in Africa, are also oppressing us. These people in the United States, these black Africans who think like this, they just think the same as some of our leaders here right now who are working with these Western powers to oppress the black peoples in general. So I said, it's time for you Africans, who think like this, to come on the table, to know that African Americans are our family members.
As an African living in the United States, I used to share the same sentiment that Africans share about African Americans because I had a hard time when I first moved here. People used to always tell me, you're not black enough, you're an Oreo, you're secretly white on the inside, as if I wasn't literally from Africa. But I now understand after living here for 8 years that Black in the United States is a very specific criteria, and anything outside of that just doesn't fit. But I want to help African Americans understand that Africans coming to the United States are immigrants, first and foremost. Then they are Nigerian or Senegalese or whatever country they're from. And then at some point, they are Black. But Africans don't put Black high up on their identity well as much as African Americans do. And that is for legitimate reasons on both ends. And so when an African is coming to the United States, they're thinking to themselves, okay, I'm an immigrant here. I have to do my best for myself and my family back home. The sacrifices that took for me to get here were no light work, okay? So I need to really align myself with what's going to make me successful in this country. And because it's the United States, it's the dominant culture, which is white American culture. And so Africans are going to instinctively ally themselves with the culture that's going to give them the most success. I mean, African Americans even admit that they have to code switch to be successful here because that's what brings success. And so Africans are like, all right, we'll do that. And it also doesn't help that for a long time, Africans are fed a very negative view of Black American culture, and that's its own propaganda. But because Africans are so conservative and they're coming to a country where Black Americans have been labeled as the antithesis to this conservative traditional family values, they have, if anything, more in common with Southern Baptist white racist people. But that aside, going back to identity markers, Black Americans put Black first and foremost, and then everything else goes below it. And so they're thinking when another Black people come to our country, they're going to want to integrate with us, the other Black people, because Black comes first. And they get quickly disappointed in realizing that for Africans, Black and the identity and that coming is not first. Their immigrant identity comes first, and then their country. And if anything, for us as Africans to feel like that's my brother, that's my brethren, or whatever, you have to come from the same tribe as us, because we have so many Black people around, we don't automatically pre-select for Black. But Black Americans don't have so many Black people around, have had to defend and protect their culture amidst a dominant white culture, and so they are already pre-select and are overprotective for Black. And so that's why I think at the core of it, there's a deep misunderstanding because of not realizing that we put where we put our identity markers and what we put first and what we prioritize are so different culturally because of our differences in trauma, realistically. And so it does make sense that Black Americans will be like, oh, my people, my brethren, come here. And Africans coming to the United States are like, I'm just trying to make it here. It's a lot of work to immigrate to the United States. And so y'all can stay over there, and I can see why it's hurtful, and I can see why it's taken personally, and I can see the deep misunderstanding and the betrayal that African Americans feel. But it's unfortunate, and that's just a reality. But if we can talk about it from this perspective, I think we can get to a better understanding. But I also believe that Africans that spend enough time in the United States get to this compassion and understanding of the Black American community, because it is a very unique and specific set of circumstances for a culture to grow and to develop.
It's been whack to be African, and we saw that and experienced it when y'all called that.
So I'm African American, and I was dating this Nigerian guy, African American. I'm 27. He's also the same age. And this came up a lot in our discourse because he was kind of talking about that. Basically how he was just talking about how African Americans didn't really embrace African culture, traditional African culture, music, all of that type of stuff until more recently. And I was trying to let him know that you have to understand, as an African American, first of all, our upbringings are a lot different. Because a lot of the African Americans who I would say are millennial and the generation after that or whatever, a lot of those people, before that, the generation before millennial, so baby boomers, all of that, you're forgetting that slavery was just abolished, a little over 100 years ago. So a lot of my ancestors, my great grandmother, whatever, they didn't know nothing about their African culture. Like that's the big issue with slavery, is that we were ripped away from our culture. When it comes to just like overall education and everything, I feel like this is just a matter of, we're moving into a new time. We're moving into a new generation of people. We're moving into a time of information where a lot of African Americans in the last 10 years, 15 years literally, have just gotten information and knowledge about Africa, the real Africa, the beautiful Africa, the motherland. So I don't think that it's necessarily like trendy now for African Americans to embrace their African part of their ancestry. I think it's just the fact that we're just now getting exposed to this information. And I really think we need to shift the focus on how we can fuse our cultures together and teach each other and bridge the gap, because there shouldn't be any separation and like isolation amongst African American culture and African culture, because that's what they want. Like, come on now. Also, I just want to touch on the fact that, like, first of all, it's just now became cool to be black for everybody. Whether you're African American, blacks, mixed, black, whatever. Like, let's be real. If you go back to grade school, first of all, when I grew up in grade school, people were calling me Blackie, Midnight, Darky. This was going on in 2006, 2007. So, like, let's be for real here. I don't feel like my true blackness, my true beauty was truly, really, really accepted until I like went to college, if I'm being 100. Like, but as for the like picking on African, I want y'all to understand that that's what was taught to us. We did not know anything better. So we did not know what to say better about African people. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like the ignorance is bliss thing. And we're just now coming into the education.
We don't get along with the Africans, and they don't get along with us. They've been taught to hate us and dislike us and think we're a fool. And we've been taught we don't like their attitude. They act like they're superior. Because we're walking around talking about we are African Americans. We're not African Americans. We are American Africans. This is how an African look that's been indoctrinated with all the nonsense of America. This is how an African looks when they have been robbed of their God, their politics, and their principles. We are a result. This is what it looks like.
Yo, I hate when Americans ask me where I'm from. They be like, where you from? I'm like, I'm from Florida. Nah, where you from? Jacksonville, Florida. They're like, no, you're not American. Where you from? What? Where you from? Shoot.
As Black Americans, we need to normalize when people ask us where we're from, we simply say we're from America, because that is true. But you know what? Some people are intellectually curious, and so they might say, "Oh, via where?" And you know, they might be trying to build a bond with you. And you can simply say, "I'm multi-generational American. My ancestors came to America via the transatlantic slave trade, hundreds of years ago." And I use that all the time, and people literally grasp it immediately. Even if they don't, they know enough not to keep prying and ask. It usually closes the door. Also, I think because this is the global history of so many countries around the world, like Jamaica and Haiti and Barbados and St. Vincent, St. Lucia, I mean, I can go on. But like for some reason, sometimes when Black Americans, because America has such an immigrant history, there's a perception that you are a first and second generation immigrant, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And sometimes people are just simply asking because you remind them of their countrymen, which I think is like a really good compliment. But also, as a Black American, you don't owe anyone a history lesson. Sometimes there is an educational deficit in their home country, or there is somehow an educational deficit, you know, culturally, and they just don't have that history and they don't have that context. Yes, they understand America.
And finally, here I am with that particular, rounding up. I come to understand that, from these particular different quarters that African Americans, they've got that particular superiority, complexities, ingrained in their systems. Even as bold, they can come and claim that, there's nothing that is, attaching ourselves with, the Africans. In as much as that anybody who comes from Africa is black. So black, to some extent, cuts across, it weaves its way into the African Americans, who in this particular context they're trying to, but I also don't blame them, because if you're born there as a child, you've grown your life knowing that that is home. When somebody asks you, where do you come from? Where do you really come from? So that is a very challenging question, especially, and then given the context whereby there is these particular superiority complexities which are going on with, light skinned, you are this skinned, the black skinned, and you are, light skinned, and therefore you are associated with the black. If you're black, you're associated with, Africa, because everything else from Africa is black. So if you're black, and even if you're born in America, definitely you're going to find yourself traced back to the roots that maybe you don't even belong to. But as usual, guys, that has been my opinion. I also do stand corrected. Let me know what you think on the comment section, and stay put. Signing out.